Now, my commitment today is to introduce you to our rapid growth system. It's a formula that's well known to thousands of business around Great Britain, Europe and indeed worldwide, but still really to a fraction of the overall business community globally. So please take full cognizance of what we go through today, and feel free to share these details with your friends, and if anyone's interested to talk to us about them, we'd be very happy to respond. So with that introduction, let's get cracking. First thing I want to say is that business coaching has been around for about 30 years, since it was pioneered by Brad Sugars, who owns the Action Coach franchise. He's the good-looking fellow with the hair and the teeth and the glasses on the right-hand side of the slide you're looking at. But 30 years in, we're still in our infancy. There's a lot more about business coaching and rapid growth that needs to be shared with more businesses. So I'm hoping that today you'll pick up some gems and feel free to share them with some of your colleagues and associates in business. With that, let's get cracking. So the first thing I'd like to do is to ask you for your permission to be the coach for this hour. This is a coaching session. I want to make sure I give you full value. I don't want to be on broadcast all the time, so please do raise your hand and ask questions. I will respond. Let's make it as interactive as possible. All in agreement? So what's the first item? The first element of the rapid growth system? Well, it's this. And this is Warren Buffett. He's the world's second wealthiest man. When this note was made, he was worth a mere 48 billions in terms of net worth. And this is what he says about business growth: that it is not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. Rather, it's the contrary. He keeps it really simple, stupid. But he runs Berkshire Hathaway, which at last note was one of the world's most successful investment management businesses. And he's a guru to many people in business with his sage wisdom and knowledge. It is not necessary, in his opinion, to do extraordinary things to do extraordinary results, or should I say, to get extraordinary results. We're going to deal in the simple things today. This rapid growth system is fundamentally simple, but like most simple things, it's easier not to do than to do. So think about applying the simple things rather than looking for something extraordinary. You'll find nothing extraordinary in the content we go through in the course of the next hour. Here's some more simplicity from another great business operator, a fellow called Jim Rohn. Jim, the late Jim Rohn, says this: it's about a few simple disciplines repeated every day. A few simple disciplines repeated every day. Again, I have to say, these are so simple that it's easier not to do than to do. Now, Jim was one of the world's great business philosophers in his time, and he still lives on through the Jim Rohn Foundation. Bizarrely, Jim seems to still be tweeting, though he's been gone for about 20 years. But his philosophy is very clear. It's about a few simple disciplines repeated every day. So if we take the collective experiences of Jim Rohn, allied to those of Warren Buffett, I think we can allow ourselves to believe that business is not quite as complex as some would have you believe. Let's push on and look at some of the things that comprise our business growth system. Now, the guys want me to introduce myself, so I'll do a few preliminaries before we get into the detail. I've been around for a while, and as you can see from the details coming up on the screen, that's 31 years in business, worked with over 1,600 companies, and over that time I'm really proud. Probably the proudest stat on there is that we've created over 3,000 jobs. Over 31 years, it would be somewhat surprising working in larger organizations and that many companies if we hadn't produced substantial incremental revenues. But we've done that over 37 different industries, so my experience is quite broad, and I've always applied the same rationale and approach. I've made a note beneath of the aspects of business that I believe a business that's going places needs to have. The owner clearly must have a burning desire. Without that, you've got no chance. Clearly, you need to know where you go, knowing where you're going. And there does need to be focus on the main thing or the main things. I very often see businesses with too much stuff and not enough substance. So it's what not to do sometimes, which needs to be taken on board rather than what to do. So focusing on the main thing, controlling use of your prime time, working on the high important, low urgency issues, and not confusing the two. If you draw a quadrant up and you divide it into importance and urgency, and if you have high and low in both of those quadrants, I want you to be on the high important, low urgency quadrant, because that's where you're going to get the final best use of your prime time. It's also about understanding the numbers. Every business marches on its numbers. We have to know how we're going, and then as we go through this webinar, we'll see the importance of measuring and testing performance. That's not an optional extra, it is vital. Understanding the numbers and understanding how the business is going as a consequence of understanding the numbers is a massively important aspect to any successful business. It's also about having a unique selling proposition that is compelling and successful in a niche which is true and genuine, and effective marketing. Those three things are probably the most significant items on this list. Having a USP, a niche that people recognize you for, and marketing in an effective way so that people come to you. But it's also about maximizing sales conversion. Effective marketing just produces leads. We need more than leads, we need to convert them. And when we convert it, it's about being efficient, having systems that keep it nice and tidy so we can leverage our resources, and having the right team and getting the right synergy from the team, and as a consequence, generating the right results. So there we are on one slide. That's what we're all about. And in the course of the next sort of 50 minutes, I want to share those thoughts with you. I'm available to take your questions at any time. So please don't hesitate. Press the button, the thumbs up, and we'll take your question. On to the next slide. This is a very interesting slide. Covers the scope of our work. And as you can see, we're not mincing our words either. There are victims below the line, and there are victors above the line. Now, it's a bit cheesy. An oar or a bed? Which one are you going to use? Well, an above the line mentality is somebody who takes ownership, who is accountable for their performance, good or bad, and who is responsible for that performance. And people who have those characteristics tend in the main to turn out to be successful. They are the victors in the main. Then there's the other kind of people. These are the people who are, well, they don't mean to be, but they are victims. They blame others for their lack of progress. They offer up excuses, and sometimes they're also in denial that things aren't working out right. It's a bed to lie on. It's not good enough. It's certainly not a good enough behavior for a business that wants to go forward and wishes to succeed. We think about the people, examples of people who are victors. You could single out people like James Dyson, or in a different genre, Winston Churchill. In the sporting world, you could probably think of people like Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex Ferguson. These are the victors. These are the people who take ownership, who hold themselves accountable to their results, and who take full responsibility for their actions. These people realize it's up to them to think, to plan, to execute, to measure and test to improve, and to negotiate their way through their crisis. So think about characters that you see on television or you see around you, and they're the kind of person who are above the line people. Above the line people win out. I think about people like Churchill. I think about people like Dyson, James Dyson, the manufacturer of an innovator with vacuum cleaners. And in the sporting world, of course, we have Alex Ferguson. But not everybody thinks that way. And I think we should also explore here those who think differently and less successfully. And the acronym is BED: blame, excuses, denial. And these people are the victims. It's somebody else's fault that they're not going forward. There's a good reason why we couldn't improve. Excuses. And sometimes it's just downright denial, that there's not a problem, everything's fine, thank you very much, even though the revenue and profit tables suggest different. So This is about mentality, and it's a choice. Are you above or are you below the line? Truth is, below the line businesses don't tend to last. Above the line mentalities tend to thrive, not just survive. It's about inappropriate patterns of thought and behavior, I guess, if I was summarizing it. And those that are victors have appropriate patterns of thought and behavior. They think, they plan, they execute, they measure and test what works to improve what they do. Whereas those beneath the line, who are lying on their bed, those who are operating as victims, well, they're inappropriate patterns of thought and behavior. Happy to take questions on this. Moving on. Here's another way of looking on things. This is what I call the identity iceberg. And like any physical iceberg, we've got above and we've got below the surface. So you can see the diagram on the screen. It's the skills, the beliefs, the values, and the identity, the things that are beneath the surface, that drive the actions, the behavior, and decisions above the surface. So it's what goes on inside your head that determines what you do. Now, your patterns of thought and behavior are down to you, and my patterns of thought and behavior are down to me, and the decisions we take as a consequence are down to you and me. And they're conditioned by the skills we have, the beliefs that we carry, the values that we appreciate, and by our own identity. And all of that's wrapped up in our own environment. It's important to understand this. We can make a change. An iceberg, for example, whilst it floats, can be, it will float to a different place. You can move to a different place. You're not marooned under an iceberg with skills and beliefs and values and identities that you can't change. These are changeable if you wish. You can acquire more skills. And we could help you, or you could help yourself. You could change your beliefs for more appropriate and effective patterns of thought and behavior. And you could change your values and even your identity. Dwell on this, please. Your actions, your behavior, and your decisions are governed by what's beneath the iceberg here in terms of skills, beliefs, values, and identity. But each one of those can change, and therefore your actions, your behaviors, and your decisions can also change as a consequence. I'm thinking perhaps you might have some questions on that as we turn to the questions section at the end of our short presentation. Truth is, and this is a truism spoken by a guy called Brad Sugars, who is one of the world's leading business entrepreneurs, runs Action Coach, the business that I have here in the southeast of England. And Brad puts it like this: sometimes the glass ceiling is just in your head. It's true, isn't it? Sometimes it's in my head, your head. We are actually sabotaging our own progress because of inappropriate restrictions that we have allowed into our patterns of thought and behavior. But we can shed them. Let's look ahead at how we could do that. In Action Coach, we use this 6-step system, and it's a bit tweaked, 6 steps to a massive result, you might think. But I'm going to show you over the course of the remainder of this webinar how you could grow your business, how you could build your business system, how you could have rapid growth. I'm going to focus particularly on stage 2 of this 6-step formula. As you can see, stage 1 is about mastery. That's the basics. That's mastery of time, mastery of your destination, and so on. And all the purpose of mastery is about turning chaos into control. I want to focus more, though, on niche, which is about the predictive cash flow, how you can generate predictable cash flow, how you can get more revenue into your business, and as a consequence, generate more profit. So let's have a look at how we might go about that. Now, I would describe the 5 ways as a business system. It's one that it's unlikely you'll have seen previously. So I want to dwell on this for a good 10-15 minutes, and I'm happy to take your questions along the way. So please feel free to raise your hand and alert us if there's something you'd like to ask, or if there's something you're confused by or want more information on. Let's have a look at the basic structure of the 5 ways. This is the growth driver. It fits within the niche section, and the objective of having a niche is to achieve a competitive advantage, not based on price. So yes, you could have price leadership, but then someone could eclipse you very easily. We're looking to produce something that is substantial and long-term. So the idea of having a niche is that we have an advantage and we can market that advantage to the marketplace. You perhaps would be familiar with the word USP, unique selling proposition or unique selling point, and we definitely need one of those. And the most successful companies are also willing to go a stage further and not just have a USP, but they also guarantee results. Usually with some rider of some kind, but nonetheless they're prepared to guarantee results. So let's just reiterate what niche is all about. It's competitive advantage not based on price. It's about marketing your advantage, not the facts, nor the benefits. We need to go a stage further than just facts and benefits. We need to explain what the advantages are to our customers and prospective customers of our business. And that's best wrapped up in a unique selling proposition, whatever that is. And it's best when that unique selling proposition is backed by a guarantee. So if you're looking for just one single thing in this webinar that you might take away, you might want to make a note of that. It's about having an advantage, calling it a USP, which you market assiduously and back with a guarantee. Again, happy to take your questions if that's something you wish to explore with us. Here's the 5 ways. Please feel free to take some notes. We're going to keep this nice and slow and walk through this stage by stage. Now the 5 ways are shown in the red. The red items, number of leads, conversion rate, number of transactions, the average sale value and the margins, they are the inputs. They're the things we're in control of. We can influence those 5 things. We don't have full control because it depends on consumer or trade buyer preference, but nonetheless we can influence the performance in those 5 dimensions. Let me just read them through. So the way this formula works, of the 5 ways, it's the number of leads we generate, and we've got 4,000 in this particular worked example. It's the conversion rate that we achieve, and as you can see coming on the screen now, we're using 25%, which gives us, well, 1,000 customers. So 2 inputs, the number of leads and the conversion rate, which we can influence to get customers. We could also do more in terms of the number of transactions that are developed. And let's take an example here where we've got 2 transactions per customer who's buying, and also on the average sale value. And in this particular case, we've taken a nice round number, £100. Now, if we multiply those through, £100, average sale value, 2 transactions, 1,000 customers, we've got revenues of, yes, you got it right, yeah, 200,000. Let's play it on a bit further, because we can also influence the margin. That's the 5th of the 5 ways. Let's take an example here where the margin is 25%. So mathematically, 25% of 200,000 gives us a profit. Yeah, you got it right, yeah, 50,000. So there's the mathematic, the 5 ways principle. This is a very important part of this morning's webinar. This is the thing you're most likely to take away, I suspect, the 5 ways. It's not just a case about winning a deal and converting it. It's about maximizing it in transactions, in average sale values, and in margins. And the Action Coach logic, and one of the things I think you should be very excited about, is that we can improve in each of those 5 ways. That's the one shown in red. We can make improvements in each of those 5 ways. We have the opportunity to improve the number of leads, the conversion rate performance, number of transactions, the average sale value, and the margins. We can take actions to improve each of those five ways. Let me show you. We're going to take an example here, theoretically, where we've got a £50,000 profit based on revenues of 200,000. You can see the makeup there in front of you. And now we're going to put another column in. And I'm going to take an example where we're just 10% better in each of those 5 ways. So that means 10% more leads on top of 4,000. So mathematically, yeah, you've got it, 4,400. And we're also going to improve the conversion rate. Now that conversion rate's only gone up 2.75 points from 25 to 2.5 points, sorry, from 25 to 27.5. But look at the impact when you multiply those two 10% improvements. We've now got over a 20% improvement in the numbers of customers. And it doesn't stop there, because if we look further now at the number of transactions, we go from 2 to 2.2 and £100 in terms of average sale value to 110. Again, they look modest improvements. You might be thinking, why on earth would we do that? They're just modest. Why would I waste my time? Well, here's why. Because when you take those 4 actions, improving the number of leads, the conversion rate, the number of transactions, and the average sale value by 10%, then look what happens to the revenues. It's a surprise, isn't it? That's a 46% improvement in revenue, arising from relatively small numbers of improvement actions in both leads, conversion rate, number of transactions, and the average sale value. The genius here is the simplicity. We're working in 4 dimensions. We're not just simply thinking win and convert. We're thinking win, do more to improve the number of wins, convert, do more to improve the conversion rate performance, do more to improve the number of transactions, and do more to improve the average sale value. So we're thinking in 4 dimensions there. And as you can see, that £292,000 on top of the £200,000 starting point is somewhere around 46%. Now that's substantial revenue growth, but it's not finished there, because if we look at profit, then we can also improve profit. We can do a 10% improvement on, or just a 10% improvement on profit on a 25% profit margin that takes 27.5. But when we play that through, as we can see now, that gives us an £80,000 profit. So we can take a £50,000 profit to an £80,000 profit by simply focusing in 5 very obvious, very influential areas of our business. There's no quackery here or magic arithmetic. It's simple maths based on the principle that if we work in the 5 ways, those shown in red, we can make a dramatic improvement to our revenues and, most importantly, to our bottom line, to our profits. Be interested to take any questions you have on this as we go. No questions at the moment, so I'll press on. The good news is that there are 73 lead generation strategies that are open to you and indeed other businesses. There are 83 strategies for improving your conversion rate. The good news continues, because there's actually 68 different strategies to improve the number of transactions. So why simply settle for them buying once when they might be able to buy twice? And a further 53 strategies for improving the average sale value. And still there's more. There's 67 strategies that we're aware of for improving margins. So in total, we've got 344 strategies spread across those 5 ways that will enable us to grow our business. Hands up who finds this exciting and would be interested to discuss more about this approach. Do put your hand up if you'd like to raise a question or if you've got some observation. My trusty assistant here, Wes, would be happy to put you through and we can talk about it now. But that's the gist of it. You're not on your own. You're not without options here. 73 lead generation strategies are open to you. 83 strategies to convert your leads, 68 to improve the number of transactions, and 53 to improve the average sale value, and then a whopping 67 to improve your margin. So nearly 350 strategies that we're aware of to enable you to improve your revenues and your profits. Are you ready to take action? Back to Jim Rohn. What Jim says is this: it's not what happens, it's what you do that matters. It's not what happens, it's what you do that matters. Now, you've made the first move this morning. Those of you who are on the webinar, and thank you very much for being with us. Delighted you joined us. You've taken some action. You've taken the action of learning one or two habits and systems, even at cursory level, that you know you could utilize. It's not what happens, it's what you do that matters. You would be able to take that 5 ways principle and apply it to your business. But it is about what you do. Don't wait for others. It's about what you do that matters. So perhaps if you've got any of those excuse notes hanging around, it's time to bury them. This is fresh fields for you. It's what you do that matters. 344 strategies open to every business to grow the business. And at a modest 10% in each of the 5 ways, 46% growth in revenues, 61% improvements in profit. What would your business look like? What would you feel like if you're able to achieve those sorts of growths? Now, Tiger Woods isn't no longer the world's greatest exponent, but he's probably the most recognizable of all golfers. And he puts it quite simply: no matter how tough you think you are, you just can't do this thing on your own. Now, you've made a good step this morning in investing some of your time in this short webinar. You'll have picked up some themes and some ideas that you might want to run with. But just look at those words again. No matter how tough you think you are, you just can't do this thing on your own. It's not an advert for a coach, as it happens, though I'd be very pleased to chat with you if you're interested. Very happy to take your questions. It's more an explanation that to get to the very best, to the apex of your industry, that there needs to be an investment in learning of some kind, whether that's a coach or whether that's a good book. That's down to you. What I do offer as a coach, and I meet people personally all around Surrey, Sussex and Kent, is a complimentary session. So if what we've gone through this morning is in some small way taken your fancy or pricked up your ears, then do please feel free to reserve your complimentary session with me. That would be face-to-face. I would come to your offices and go through your business, put your business through my stress test, if you like, and you would come out with some fairly compelling next steps and actions. Whether you choose to hire me after that would be a completely separate decision. But the no strings, no ties offer is there for you across Surrey, Sussex and Kent-based businesses to sit down with me and put your business through the stress test and see what we can do for yourselves. It's personal, it's private, it's free of charge, and it's seriously focused. Now, only remains for me to thank you for your presence on this webinar, and to ask you if you have any questions and to fire away. I'll be very pleased to answer them. Should you be a little reluctant to do so through the prism of the webinar, but you'd like to make contact with us, then I can tell you that the best way of doing that is either to email me at leedickinson@actioncoach.com or to telephone me, and the easiest way of doing that would be on the mobile phone. The number is 07717 702 084. That's 07717 702 084. What we can do now is take any questions you may have, and I'm very happy to answer them live. Should that not be your preference and you'd rather get in touch directly, well, you have the contact details. Please feel free to do so. Thank you very much.